Right, so today I'm going to be ranking every League 2 club's 2024 summer transfer window, but before we get into that, if you're wondering why I'm wearing a t-shirt which is clearly about 17 sizes too big for me, basically, I mean, this is, I can't even comprehend that I'm actually saying this. I was having a shower the other day, I was doing my manly shaving, getting rid of the moustache. I thought, I've got a few nipple hairs, I'll shave the nipple hairs. Then I shaved my actual nipple, and now it's very, very sore. So any type of physical contact on the nipple, and it really hurts, but I can't exactly do it topless, so this is the best that I've got to go with. Absolutely no one could have predicted that, could they? First up then, we have Doncaster Rovers. They've brought in players such as Jordan Gibson, Billy Sharp, Joe Sabara, all on free transfers, and I do think on paper they are three very solid signings. They've paid a bit of money for Harry Clifton and Tom Nixon. They've brought in a few loans as well. Obviously last season ended brilliantly for Doncaster, but they didn't bring back Lotatalo, the goalkeeper. They haven't brought back Hakeem Badulican. It looked like he was waiting for 10 grand a week at the start of the window. I'm pretty sure Doncaster offered him a 3-year deal. He's ended up signing on a 1-year contract for Salford City, and it just goes to show maybe your agents don't know everything about football. In terms of their permanent departures, Harrison Biggins, this was a really weird one. He joined Shrewsbury on a free transfer, and then he's gone straight out on loan to Carlisle after playing a couple of games. Absolutely baffling. John Taylor and Liam Ravenhill also left the football club. What an absolute house he is. George Miller joined Cheltenham for an undisclosed fee. I would say overall, if we're not factoring in the loans from last season, they are stronger. I don't think they have necessarily replaced Lotatalo and Hakeem Badulican. I certainly don't think Jordan Gibson is as good as Badulican, but Grant McCann is a very good manager. He's got Billy Sharp still scoring goals. He's guaranteed to score against Bradford City. I wouldn't say it's an awful window. I don't think it has been amazing. I'd probably put Doncaster in the solid category just because they haven't quite improved on their squad last season. It's probably a better squad, but their starting 11, I'm not too sure if it is much better. Notts County are up next then, and they had a very busy summer transfer window, bringing the likes of Jacob Bidu and Matty Platt on free transfers. Nick Shurulua also came in from Crawley. They brought in a couple other free transfers in there as well, the likes of Kellan Gordon, Curtis Edwards, Jack Hinchey also joined the football club as well. They paid a bit of money for the likes of Alex Bass, Conor Grant, Rod McDonald and Lucas Ness as well. They were very key and focused on improving their defence this season, obviously because of how poor they were last campaign. They have lost Macaulay Langstaff though for around £750,000, I do believe. For a player of his quality, could they maybe got a little bit more out of him? Potentially so, but I assume there is probably a lot of add-ons in there, and they got rid of some of their defenders, a lot of their defenders to be fair, who weren't particularly great for them last season. I was surprised by the departure of Aaron Namani. Yes, they've got a lot of strength in depth in them positions, but at 26 years of age, yes, they've got an undisclosed fee for him, but to go to a League 2 rival I thought was a bit of an odd move by Notts. They managed to keep hold of Jody Jones and Dan Crowley, which you would arguably say is the best business they could have done all window. I would say overall their squad is definitely a lot stronger because defensively they have massively improved on last season. Matty Platt was the best centre back in the division. Jacob Bidu wasn't far behind last campaign. I would say overall they're not far off it being a window winners. If they'd have still had Langstaff, they probably would be my window winners, but I certainly don't think they're too far off, to be fair. Borough AFC are up next, and they've brought in a lot of free transfers as you would expect, and we've saw a few departures as well. The most notable one obviously being Ben Whitfield. He's finally made the step up into League One with Burton Albion at 28 years of age. I certainly can understand why he wants to be playing in League One at this moment in time. George Ray also was, I think, released by the football club, which I thought was quite surprising, to be fair. He was one of the better centre backs in the division last season. I do like some of their signings, like Theo Vassell joining the football club. I like the goalkeeper Will Stanway. I don't think he's played though so far this season. They brought in Ben Jackson on a permanent transfer from Huddersfield. I would say overall they're stronger in some departments, weaker in others. I'll probably say it's been a fairly average window for Barrow on the whole. I don't think it's anything really too stand out, so I'm going to stick Barrow in average. Moving over to my good friends at Gillingham next. They've made some good signings, some signings which I'm not entirely convinced by. The pick of the bunch for me is probably Jack Nolan. He's coming from Accrington for an undisclosed fee. Everybody will look at Bradley Dack returning to the football club, but he's played about 4 games in the last 10 years, so I don't think we can really look into that all too much. Obviously, if he stays fit, he's going to be arguably the best player in the division, but it's about keeping him fit, and that seems like quite a hard task. It certainly has been over the last couple of seasons. They did lose Dom Jeffries to Lincoln, which I do think is a little bit of a loss, but apart from that, they've lost absolutely nobody of any significance, so I don't think we can really complain too much about that. In terms of some more of their incomings, Elliot Nevitt and Armani Little join from 2 fellow League 2 sides in Crewe and AFC Wimbledon respectively. They could work out as decent signings. I would say overall they're definitely stronger ending the window than they were going into it. Jacob Wakeling on loan from Peterborough, I do think could be a solid signing as well. I would say overall for Gillingham, I'll probably put them in the solid category. It's not been a brilliant transfer window, but they've certainly improved their squad. I'll probably say better than Doncaster's as well. There we go, better than Doncaster. My team at Bradford City are up next then, and again we've made some good signings, some not so good signings is certainly what I would say about that. In terms of the free transfers, we brought in Aidan Baldwin, Callum Johnson and Anthony Sarcevic. Baldwin came in with bad reviews from the Notts fans, but he's been very good for us so far this season. Unfortunately, picked up a hamstring injury against Grimsby and he's going to be out for a few weeks. Callum Johnson has not kicked a ball for Bradford City so far, and we won't see him do that until at least January. Seems like an absolutely bizarre signing. He's got an ongoing calf problem. He picked up the injury before pre-season even started, and we're not going to see him now until the new year. Thankfully, we only gave him a one-year contract, but in terms of medicals, due diligence, all that sort of stuff, an absolutely terrible signing so far. Anthony Sarcevic came in with a lot of expectation and promise from Stockport. He is going to be injured for a few months, some type of knee injury, which is obviously a massive blow and didn't exactly start the season too well, in all honesty. Tyreek Wright, we've paid money for and his return to the club for a third spell. I wouldn't say I've been impressed with him so far. I wasn't really impressed with him in his second spell last season. And again, Neil Byrne, we've paid money for him. He barely played for Stockport over the last couple of seasons, and I wouldn't say I've been impressed with him so far whatsoever. I think he's been really poor, in all honesty. Chet Diabate, he's played a couple of games on loan from Exeter and he looks good. Jack Shepherd's had a few good games, a few iffy games, but on the whole seems a decent loan recruit. Jay Ben has played about half an hour in the AFL Trophy and got an assist. He looks like a good signing. Joe Adams on loan from Wigan. We've only seen him play about 60-65 minutes in the AFL Trophy and had some good moments, had some poor moments, but I think it's just about building up his match fitness at the moment. And Ollie Sanderson has also joined us on loan from Fulham, who looks, to be fair, to be a decent player so far, just 20 years of age. In terms of the departures, the biggest loss is Matty Platt. He has joined a fellow League Two side Notts County on a free transfer, which is obviously a very significant loss for us. We've got rid of Platt and replaced him with Neil Byrne. You know, they're night and day between each other. Platt is so much better than Neil Byrne, and I would definitely think we'd get promoted this season if we still had Matty Platt. We also let Alex Gilead move on to Shrewsbury. He was a big earner and wasn't going to play at all this season. Harry Chapman was released. Ash Taylor was paid up for the remainder of his contract. Luke Hendry was released. We saw a couple of the youngsters make a step into the non-league journey. Jake Young joined Stevenage on deadline day with about half an hour left of that, to be honest with you, and I'm just glad that transfer saga was finally over. He's had 6 good months throughout his career. If you play to Jake Young's strengths, then you're going to get a good player out of him, but you've got to change your entire system to play, because if he's not on the ball, he's going to offer you absolutely nothing in terms of defensive work rate. You have to play him as a striker though. You cannot play him as a winger because he's not going to do any type of defending, but he has proven in the past when linking up with Dan Kemp he can score goals at League 2 level, so it'll be interesting to see if he can make that step up into League 1. Timmy Odesina also left the club on a permanent basis for an undisclosed fee. Sam Stubbs and Adam Wilson went out on loan for the season as well, and we also paid up Kevin McDonald's contract on transfer deadline day, and obviously Rideout and Derbyshire were released at the end of last season. I would say overall we are probably slightly stronger than where we were last season, especially going forward, but defensively I would say we are weaker. On the whole, I would say it's probably been a solid transfer window. Not amazing, but probably a 7 out of 10 I would say. Walsall FC are up next then. They've brought in the likes of Albert Adoma to the football club. They've made a double swoop from Burton with Josh Gordon returning for his 17th spell and Charlie Lakin coming in to the football club as well. I do like the signing of Connor Barrett. He's come in from Fylde on a long-term contract, and then apart from that I don't know too much about some of the loans that they have brought in, but a lot of them seem like it's probably their first or maybe second EFL loans. Obviously the big blow is Isaac Hutchinson. He's gone to Bristol Rovers for about £258,000. Tom Knowles also left the football club, but he was fairly inconsistent to be fair, and promising goalkeeper Jackson Smith also left the football club. Aramide Ayotte is still without a football club at 25. Surely someone like a Morecambe could potentially pick him up at this point, but I would say on the whole their squad is weaker because Isaac Hutchinson was one of the best attacking midfielders in the division last season, and they've replaced him with Charlie Lakin. I'm not so sure he's going to provide the goal contributions that Hutchinson got last campaign. I do like the signing of Albert Adoma, 36 years of age though now. There might be some question marks that he is past it, but I think he's going to be a decent player for them this season. I just look at their striking options. There's not enough goals in there. I know they're doing quite well in the league so far this season, but on the whole I would say their squad is probably slightly weaker than where they were at the end of last season, because Hutchinson is such a significant loss and I don't think they have really replaced him. They've not improved in the striker department, so I'll probably put that down as a poor transfer window. window. AFC Wimbledon are up next then, and I do like some of their signings, to be fair. The likes of Miles Hippolyte and Matty Stevens bring loads of League 2 experience. Lewis Ward has proven in the past he can be a good goalkeeper at this level. John Joe O'Toole has returned to the football club as well. I really like the signing of Riley Harbottle. He was very good for Mansfield Town a couple of years ago, but again, that was a couple of years ago now. Alistair Smith has proven in the past he can be a decent player at this level. Joe Pigott also does return to the football club, but they did have a few quite significant losses this summer. The likes of Jack Curry making the step up with Oxford. I think he's gone out on loan to Leyton Orient in League One. Ronan Curtis turned down the new deal and decided to sign for Port Vale. Armani Little turned down the new deal and went to Gillingham. I would say, on the whole, I like some of their signings. I'm not a big fan of some of their departures, though. I would say they've done a very good job to get Josh Davison off the wage bill and getting a fee in for him. I'm not too sure what Tranmere were thinking with that recruit, but I no doubt probably think AFC Wimbledon made a loss on Davison. On the whole, I would say their transfer window probably was fairly average, in all honesty. They've improved in some departments, they're a bit weaker in others. That balances out at average for me. Newport County are up next, and a lot of people would have backed them for relegation this season, and if I'm being honest with you, I don't know a lot about a lot of their signings, in all honesty. I've heard of Anthony Glennon before, I've heard of Kieran Brennan, but apart from that, I'm struggling to know a lot of these players that they have signed. They've brought back Courtney Baker-Richardson to the football club as well. They've brought in Kyle Hudlin on loan. He's still kicking about in the FL for some reason, but the big loss is obviously Will Evans. He was brilliant for them last season and was playing as a left wing back for the large part of it as well. They also lost Omar Bogle, who guaranteed you double figures in terms of goals every season. Harry Charsley was a decent midfielder as well. Because I don't know too much about a lot of their signings, I can't really give a proper in-depth analysis, but obviously they've lost their best player, they've lost a goal scorer, they've lost a goal scoring midfielder. I would say on the whole their squad is on paper slightly weaker. I know they have had a good start to the season, but I do see that eventually fading away. They could end up turning out to be like Crawley, where a lot of their recruitment is in the under-21s and non-league, and maybe from teams you've not really heard of before and players you've not really heard of, and they end up going on and absolutely smashing it. But I'll probably say Newport County's transfer window was a poor one. Before we do go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on their form. If you could try and hit 200 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. And don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're now on the road to 11,000 subscribers. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Where would you rank your teams at League 2 transfer window? Paul Cook's Chesterfield FC are up next then, and they've made some really good signings. The most notable one for me is Che Dunkley, 32 years of age, loads of experience. I'm pretty sure he had previously worked with the manager at Wigan Athletic. He comes in on a long-term contract. Paddy Madden has also signed for the club on a 2-year deal. Proven goal scorer at this level. Kane Drummond did very well for Macclesfield as well, to be fair. Dylan Markande joins on loan from Blackburn. I remember when Bradford played Blackburn in the Carabao Cup a couple of seasons ago, he absolutely tore us apart, so I think that could be a really good signing. Tim Akinola was a bit of an interesting one. He only signed a new deal in the summer, but then has immediately gone out on loan, and I like some of their business. The likes of Lewis Gordon as well, I think could be a decent signing for this level. In terms of their departures, nobody really too significant, to be fair. Lawrence Maguire and Jeff King, I don't think that's really the biggest of losses. Joe Quigley, obviously a bit of a cult hero there. He's left to join Forest Green at 14 undisclosed fee. Obviously their squad is a lot better than where they were at the start of the summer, so I'd probably stick Chesterfield in that solid category. Tranmere Rovers are up next then. I would say the pick of the bunch in terms of their signings is Cameron Norman. He was very good for MK Dons last season, very good right wing back for this level. I do like the loan signing of Saidu Khan as well from Swindon Town, and a few of their other signings I don't know too much about. I'm not convinced by the signing of Josh Davison, especially the fact they've paid a fee for him. Amari Patrick is an okay player for this level. I'm sure Nigel Adkins will be able to get the best out of him. In terms of their departures, nothing really too significant here. I don't think. You look at some of the clubs that these players have joined, it's probably very telling in terms of their standard. Obviously there's no Rob Apter for them this season, and I wouldn't say they've particularly replaced him, but because I would say their squad overall, their squad is stronger, I'll probably say it's a solid transfer window. I think though the standard of some of these signings, because I'm not too convinced by players coming in from Marine and Connors Quay, for example, even Sutton United, I'm probably going to stick Tranmere right at the top of the average category. Where is the Tranmere badge? Oh, it's here. It's the new one, isn't it? I'll stick them right at the top of average. I don't think it's as good as the teams who are in solid, so I'll stick them in average, but right at the top of it. Andy Woodman's Bromley FC are up next then, and they've done a lot of loan recruits, free transfers from teams in the divisions above. I really like the signing of Marcus Denanga. He's come in on a free transfer from Gateshead and was very good for them last season. season. Omar Suwumne has returned to the football club as well, I think after a year with Sutton in the National League. And I look at some of their departures, again, nothing really too significant in here, I wouldn't say overall, because I don't know too much about some of these players. I do like the signing actually of Ben Thompson. He comes in on loan from Stevenage. I would say their squad is probably slightly stronger, but again, not good enough to put them in that solid category, so I'll probably stick Bromley in average. But in terms of where you would expect Bromley to be this season, I think it has been probably a good window for their standards, but for the league standards, I'd probably say average. Port Vale FC are up next then, and they have had a really good transfer window. Some of their signings have been absolutely brilliant. George Byers being the pick of the bunch. He comes in on a free transfer from Sheffield Wednesday. Ryan Crosdale brings a wealth of experience to that midfield. Ben Hennigan is a very good at centre-back for this level. Ronan Curtis as well also joins the football club, and they've paid a bit of money for the likes of Jayden Stockley, proven Championship and League One goal scorer. I think that's probably an underrated piece of business. Rory Patton had a very good season last year with Queen's Park. He has joined the football club, as well as Laurent Talage. He's come in from Aldershot again after scoring a load of goals in the National League last season. I don't know too much about some of their loan signings. In terms of their departures, nothing really too significant in here. Alex Yavacotti was an okay player for this level. Obviously, the loss of Bailey De Pepper, he's finally made the step up to, I guess you would say, the Premier League 2 rather than the Premier League at just 17 years of age. He is an unbelievable talent. They probably got over £1 million for him, but for the money they've got for him, I think that is really good business. Their squad is undoubtedly a lot stronger this season than where they were last season, when obviously they were relegated from League One. I would say Port Vale, they're not far off being my window winners. At the end of the video, every team that's in that not far off category, I'll pick one team to win the window, in my opinion. Crewe Alexandra have had one of them transfer windows where they've lost all their decent young players and they've brought in not amazing in terms of transfers, and on paper it looks like a poor window. In terms of their signings, Bogle and Hemmings joining the football club. They're okay players for this level, but nothing really to stand out. I do like the three signings that they've paid money for, that being James Connolly, Jack Lancaster and Max Sanders. Especially Max Sanders, I think he's a very good League One at central midfield, and James Connolly, I think if that is the same James Connolly who was previous on loan with Morecambe last season, I do think that is a very good signing. But in terms of their departures, Rio Adebisi for around £500,000, very significant loss. He was brilliant for them at last season. Luke Offord, very good as well when he was fit and available. He's joined fellow League 2 side MK Dons. Elliot Nevitt turned down the new deal and made the trip down south to Gillingham, and obviously Courtney Baker Richardson has joined Newport. They decided to release Charlie Kirk. It'll be interesting to see where he does end up, in all honesty. Probably makes that step down into the National League. Now, I would say their squad is probably slightly weaker. I do like the three signings, but they have had some pretty significant departures this summer. On the whole, I'll probably stick them right at the very top of Port. I would maybe bottom of average, but for now I'm going to put them in the top of Port. MK Dons had a very busy summer transfer window. We'll start firstly then with the most significant departure, that being Max Dean joining KAA Ghent for around €2 million. 20 years of age, absolutely unbelievable transfer fee for a League 2 player, but obviously a very key player for them last season. If they still had him, they would be guaranteed promotion this season for me, and to be fair, with the squad they've got, they probably still are guaranteed promotion. They did lose a few decent players for this level. The likes of Warren O'Hara, Dan Kemp, Cameron Norman and Ethan Robson all left the club. Dan Harvey and Conor Grant, they also got a little bit of money for as well. Dan Kemp, his time at MK Dons didn't really work out, to be fair. Cameron Norman, I was surprised by that departure. Ethan Robson had injury problems and he's currently injured at the moment for Carlisle. But some of their signings, goodness me. Tommy Lee comes in for around £250,000 from Accrington. Sam Sherring has made the step down from Northampton on a free transfer. Tom Carroll provides a wealth of experience in the midfield from Exeter. Luke Offord, when fit and available, is a very good defender or midfielder at League 2 level. Conor Lemonade Evans has previous promotion experience. Joe Pritchard, very good for Accrington. Lawrence Maguire was brilliant for Crawley last season. Callum Hendry will hopefully be that Max Dean replacement, and I do quite like that signing, to be fair. Liam Kelly was excellent for Crawley last campaign. Aaron Namane, very good at right wing back for this level as well. Overall, their squad is definitely stronger. Is their starting 11 stronger without Max Dean? I'm not really so sure, but MK Dons, you look at some of these signings, it's been an absolutely brilliant window in terms of their recruits. So for me personally, they are not far off being my window winners and are currently in contention for that spot. Cheltenham Town are up next then. They've brought in a lot of free transfers, to be fair. They've basically had a full squad rebrand. The likes of Rob Street joining Lincoln for around £100,000. Lewis Freeston joining Stevenage for around £90,000. They obviously had the significant blow of Luke Southwood making the step up back into League One with Bolton. A lot of their players turning down new contracts to join rivals with Forest Green Rovers. And I look at some of their key departures, they've had a lot significant ones, the likes of Elliot Bonds as well, joining Fleetwood for an undisclosed fee. They've brought in a lot of free transfers. I like the loan signing of Sam Stubbs from my team Bradford City. I think he'll provide a wealth of experience if they play him in the middle of a back three. He cannot play on the wide side because he's got absolutely no pace, but in the middle I think he will be a really good signing for them. George Miller will probably get double figures in terms of goals this season. Harry Pell's going to be out for a year with that ACL injury. I would say overall their squad is definitely a lot weaker. I really like the signing though of Luke Young. Even Owen Evans for this level is not a bad goalkeeper. I'll probably stick them in the poor window because they had so much business to do. Their squad is obviously weaker, but it could have been a lot worse, I think. Grimsby Town are up next then, and a few of their signings I'm not too sure I know a lot about, in all honesty. I do like the signing of Jason Daddy Svan Thorson, not because I know too much about him from his time in Iceland, but from what I've seen of him so far in the few games that my team Bradford have played against him, he has been a little bit of a threat, so I do think he could turn out to be a good signing. They've signed some good League 2, League 1 experience from a few of the other clubs coming in from the likes of Swindon, Port Vale, Barrow and Reading, that being Carson, Warren, Cass and McEachran. I really do like the signing of George McEachran. He's come in from Swindon. Jordan Davies has joined on loan from Wrexham. When he's fit and available, he'll be a very good signing for the level. They've managed to keep hold of Charles Vernham and Danny Rose as well, which is, two of their better pieces of business they could do. Galvan Holohan has made the step up to Crawley in League 1. Harry Clifton also left the football club. He joined fellow League 2 side Doncaster Rovers. I would say overall, again, similar to some of the other teams in the average category. They're stronger in some departments, weaker in others, so for now I'm probably going to put Grimsby in that average category. Before we do go any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me. We are aiming for 100 likes on today's video, and don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are now on the road to 11,000 subscribers. Get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below, who do you think had the best transfer window out of every club in League 2? Fleetwood Town are up next then, and they've had a very, very busy transfer window, you would say. They got over £500,000 for Promise Omocheri. Good striker, but just simply could not score the goals. Ben Hennigan joining fellow League 2 side Port Vale was a little bit of a significant loss, and obviously Jaden Stockley also joining Port Vale as well for an undisclosed fee. That is a little bit of a big blow for them. Cian Hayes made the step up into League 1 with Peterborough. I think that's quite a loss for them. He was very good for Rochdale in the National League last season. They also lost Katurna and Asamoah to two League 1 sides as well. But some of their signings I do really like. The likes of Zach Medley coming in on a free transfer. Matty Virtue will provide a wealth of experience. Mark Helm in the midfield. I really like that sign. I think it will be an underrated piece of business. Elliot Bonds, good midfielder. James Bolton could be a decent player for the level. Kian Harrow has previously spent time on loan with my team Bradford City, and he seemed to be a little bit of a troublemaker, to be fair, in terms of his touch and ability. Quite good. Footballing ability, couldn't really tell you much about because he didn't play too many games. On the whole, they have had some pretty significant losses, and I'd like some of their recruitment, but it's not as good in terms of the players that they have lost, so I'll probably stick them in average, maybe right at the bottom of average. Colchester United on paper have had a very, very good summer transfer window. They've not really had too many significant transfer losses. Cameron McGeehan turning down a new deal there, making a step up to Northampton in League 1. Apart from that, no real significant departures, in all honesty. A lot of them making a step down into the National League system, but Jack Payne comes in from Charlton, a very good midfielder for the level. Matt Macy, a wealth of experience from Portsmouth. Teddy Bishop, brilliant signing for the level. Rob Hunt can play right back and left back, really good signing. Lionel Taylor, attitude problems, but could be a decent goal scorer at this level. Alex Woodyard returns to link up with Danny Cowley once again. I really do like some of their business. Anthony Scully has come in on loan from Portsmouth as well. On the whole, their squad is undoubtedly stronger now than where they were at the start of the summer transfer window, so I'll probably stick Colchester in the solid category. I do think it has been a good transfer window. Salford City is a very interesting one. They started out their business trying to go down the more younger players route, trying to actually earn their way through the leagues rather than just trying to pay for all the old men to come in and do a job on big money, and they decided to start out by doing that. But then towards the end of the transfer window, they're bringing in the likes of Jamie Jones, James Chester, John Taylor. These are players, over the age of 30 now, and I was a little bit confused by some of their signings. Cole Stockton is a proven League 2 goal scorer, only really with Morecambe though, and hasn't exactly started out too well, in all honesty. Ben Woodburn, that is a blast from the past. I think he's Liverpool's youngest ever competitive goal scorer, if that's right. He's not exactly had an amazing start so far with Salford. In terms of their departures, losing Elliot Watt on a free transfer is a significant blow. They paid an undisclosed compensation package to take him away from Bradford City 2 years ago, and they've lost him on a free transfer. Theo Vassell's also made the step away from Salford to join Barrow, but apart from that, no real significant departures. Maybe Callum Hendry, to be fair, he was a proven goal scorer for them last season, but they've got money in for him, so I don't think it is the end of the world. And we also saw Matt Smith retire from professional football. He scored over 20 goals for the last couple of seasons for them. On the whole, their squad is definitely weaker now than where they were last season, so I'd probably stick them in a poor transfer window. Harrogate Town didn't have the busiest of transfer windows, but they did have a few significant departures, the likes of Abraham Odo joining Peterborough for an undisclosed fee, Rod McDonald as well, probably the biggest blow out of them all. He's joined League 2 side Notts County for an undisclosed fee. He was brilliant for them last season and lost a few players to the National League setup. In terms of their incomings, nothing really too stand out, to be fair. I like the signing of Ellis Taylor, but that's about it. They needed to do more business for me. I would say Harrogate Town's window, they've lost two of their better players, apart from maybe George Thomason. I'll probably say they are their two best players. I would say overall Harrogate Town's transfer window, it was a Terry Tinker. Swindon Town have had a very busy summer transfer window, but it was definitely needed. If they didn't have Dan Kemp and Jake Young, especially Dan Kemp, for the first half of last season, they would probably be playing at National League football this season because they were absolutely useless last year. They made a lot of signings. In terms of the quality of their signings, I do like some of them. Will Wright coming in from Crawley, I think is an exceptional signing. Grant Hall has returned to the football club as well. They brought in Rosel Ongello and Tumnize Sobowale, two decent fullbacks for the level. Harry Smith, if he can keep his head, will guarantee double figures in terms of his League 2 output. Jeff King, decent League 2 right back as well. Gavin Kilkenny and Dan Butterworth also joined the club for an undisclosed fee. The biggest signing of them all, though, for me, Ollie Clark, Mansfield's captain, I think he was, or vice captain last season. Brilliant signing. He wanted to move back down south to obviously settle with his young family. I really do like that signing. Tushamanga joined the club on loan from Peterborough. He's fairly unproven though in the AFL. And in terms of their departures, nothing that significant. I wouldn't say Fraser Blake Tracy was decent for them, but it wasn't amazing in all honesty. And a few players made a step down into non-league. Hepburn Murphy's actually made a step up into League 1 with Crawley. Charlie Austin has obviously gone to Totton. I've never even heard of Totton before. And they got rid of Saidu Khan, who didn't really want to be with the football club. Tom Clayton, very good young prospect, but spent a lot of his time injured. I can understand why they did decide to release him. On the whole though, I would say their squad is definitely in a stronger place now. I'm not too sure why they've had such a poor start to the season, because it has been a solid window for me and I would be quite content with their transfer business. Now managerless Carlisle United are up next then, and they had a very busy summer transfer window. Archie Davies came in from Dundalk for around £50,000. I think that is a solid signing. Cameron Harper came in from Inverness. I think that's a really good signing. Jordan Jones, excellent signing from Wigan. He tore us apart at the weekend but didn't really have the end product. Ethan Robson, if he's fit and available, is a solid League 2 midfielder. Ben Williams, I'm not entirely convinced by. Charlie White, the situation with him was crazy. He spent the whole summer with Bradford City players. He wanted to sign for Bradford City. Just a couple of days before he signed for Carlisle, he was saying that he's desperate to join Bradford City, and that obviously never came to fruition. We never put an offer in, and apparently he's now playing for £7,000 a week at Carlisle. He's their captain, and they already want him dropped because he's failing to score chances. He missed a few sitters at the weekend, and maybe that was Agent White not wanting to horn at Bradford City. But yeah, on the whole for me, good signing, but is his head potentially still in the right place? Terrell Thomas and Aaron Hayden, two decent centre-halves for this level, but both massively struggle with injuries, especially Aaron Hayden, and I'm not entirely convinced they'll be able to stay fully fit for the season. Then you're relying on the likes of Sam Lavelle, Ben Barkley to come in week in, week out. I'm not entirely convinced there. Dom Sadie and Dan Adu Deji are two decent players for this level, especially Dom Sadie. I think he was really good at the weekend, to be fair. The Harrison Biggins situation I've already spoke about when I talked about Doncaster. Good signing for Carlisle, to be fair, and in terms of their departures, nothing really that significant, to be fair. Jordan Gibson was very inconsistent and has obviously made a step over to Doncaster. They lost Dan Butterworth, who was quite a creative midfielder. Jack Armour, I think they've improved on him with Cameron Harper, and Alfie McCalmont has obviously gone over to Central Coast, where I think Ryan Edmondson went in January, and they released a few players as well. On the whole though, for me, I would say their squad is definitely a lot stronger now than where they were at the start of the transfer window. They could have done with a little bit more creativity and pace, but on the whole, I would say they're not far off being window winners. Their squad is a lot better now than where they were at the start of the transfer window. I think they were maybe one or two players away from really challenging to be the window winners. Accrington Stanley are up next then, and they've made some really good signings, to be fair, but they've lost a lot of their better players. Tommy Lee joining MK Dons, Joe Pritchard also making that same switch, Rosero Longello joining joining Swindon, and even Toby Savin joining Shrewsbury. That is 4 quite significant blows for Accrington, and obviously the biggest one being Jack Nolan, who joined Gillingham for an undisclosed fee. Even Sean McConville, bit of a legend there, well, definitely a legend there. He left to join Clitheroe on a free transfer. In terms of some of their other departures, nothing really too significant in there, I wouldn't say, but their signings, they have signed well. I like the signing of Ferran Rawson. He's a very good, solid centre-half for the level. Ashley Hunter has proven EFL experience. I like the double swoop of Jimmy Knowles and Kelsey Mooney from Boston. Tyler Walton as well has looked good so far this season. Darragh Costello was genuinely one of the worst players I've ever seen play for Bradford City. It'll be interesting to see how he does get on for them this summer. It was, according to their manager, a player they've been tracking all summer, which I think is strange. Obviously, on the whole, their squad is significantly weaker. I don't think it's a Terry Tinker, but it's definitely near the bottom end of Port for me. I don't think it's a great window for Accrington. And finally, we have Morecambe FC. Now, I would love to take circumstance into consideration here when you go back to just a couple months ago when they had 2-4 players, something like that, and no manager at the start of the summer. They've now obviously got a squad and they're able to compete in League One. They've lost all 5 of their matches 1-0 though so far this season. Again, it comes down to a lot of individual mistakes and errors. They've lost a lot of their better players, the likes of Jacob Bedo making the step over to Notts County, JJ McKenna making the step up to League One with Lincoln City, Ferran Rawson and Jill Senior, even Donald Love. A couple of solid players fought this level, even someone like Jacob Davenport, Chris Stokes, you know, they were good options for this level. In terms of their recruits, the standout one for me is probably George Ray. Really do like that signing. Lee Angle and Luke Hendry, double swoop, having previously played for Bradford City. The quality in there is just not there because they've got no money. They can probably afford to pay players no more than £1,000 a week. They brought in Marcus Dackers on loan from Salford. He's a big physical striker, but on the whole though, for me, there's just not enough quality in this Morecambe side, and I feel bad for them because obviously they've got no money. They need to sort out their ownership issues before they can really focus on rebuilding their side, but I do think this season might be one step too far for Morecambe. There's not enough quality in there. They've not got the quality in terms of their loans. Reece Williams obviously playing in the Premier League not too long ago, but yeah, on the whole though, for me, I would say it has probably been a Terry Tinker. It's harsh to say, but I'm gonna have to stick them in the Terry Tinker category because I don't think they've done enough business to survive. Let's end today's video then with me picking my window winner and why I haven't gone with some of the other clubs. So the teams competing for that spot are Notts County, Port Vale, MK Dons and Carlisle. Notts County have had a brilliant transfer window, but they lost Macaulay Langstaff. MK Dons had a brilliant transfer window, they lost Max Dean. Carlisle had a solid transfer window, but they were still a couple of signings away. Port Vale have massively improved their squad and they haven't lost anyone too significant. Port Vale for me are my window winners. They've improved their squad massively and they've not lost anyone of too much significance. I think they'll bounce back this season. I know it's not been a perfect start to the season for them. They currently sit smack bang in the middle of the table, but I feel like once September is over, that's when we get a real judge of where teams are going to be in and around come the end of the season. Right now you've got teams like Walsall up in 6th. I'm sure they're getting a nosebleed at the moment, and then you've got teams like Carlisle and Swindon down near the relegation zone. On the whole though, for me, I do think it is slowly starting to take shape, and another 4 or 5 games and we'll see then where a lot of the clubs are. But just to confirm, in a Terry Tinker category we have Harrogate and Morecambe. In Poor we have Crewe, Salford, Walsall, Newport, Cheltenham and Accrington. In Average we have Tranmere, Barrow, Wimbledon, Bromley, Grimsby and Fleetwood. In Solid we have Gillingham, Doncaster, Bradford, Chesterfield, Colchester and Swindon. In the not far off category we have Notts County, MK Dons, Carlisle, and in the window winners category we have Port Vale FC. Let me know down below, do you agree or disagree with my ranking? Where would you place your team? Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you very soon for another one.